Hi everyone, welcome back to my vlog where I cover my time during my artist residency here in Colombia.
He said, girl, please call me back. I need you so bad. Please call me back. I need you so bad.
So yeah, I'm still here while I'm shooting this, but by the time it comes out, I'll probably be back in Toronto. But I have, I think, like 2 full days left here. One of those is kind of going to be a travel day, so basically I'm like really at the last of it here, so I'm just trying to shoot this before I go back to Toronto to kind of cover everything of the last little while, the last little chunk of my time here. The biggest thing that happened that we're going to cover in this episode is my trip to Medellin. That was like just so amazing. It completely surpassed like anything I thought about this city, and to be quite honest, I'd only really done a little bit of research, like Wikipedia stuff about the history of Medellin and area, the people, and engaged with like some stuff on social media, like travel recommendations or like places to visit or people just covering like their favorite spots. So that was really the only info that I had about Medellin prior to going, but I absolutely fell in love. I think it's one of my favorite cities that I've ever visited of anywhere in the world. One of my favorite things about it was just the way that the city is kind of situated geographically, I guess is like a way to say it. It's kind of like a salad bowl. So it's basically like the river, the Medellin River runs through the middle of the town along the train line as well, and then everything kind of like sprawls out from there up and into the mountainsides. But yeah, basically like it's just so beautiful. So even when you're down in the valley or up in the mountains, like you always have a beautiful view no matter where you are in the city, but especially when you're like up top, I guess. Really cool infrastructure, really cool. I love how everything was green, so it's like you're in a salad bowl, but then like that salad bowl metaphor also translates to like the greenery. Like I've never seen more monstera plants in my life. Like you really just feel like, I don't know, it's just so gorgeous. I'm kind of just rambling off and rhyming off like a bunch of things just off the top of my head, but I think like as I go through day to day, like I'll kind of get to paint a better picture of like what specifically I liked about my visit there. So first Medellin, and then I have a few more things to cover back here in Riosucio. And then yeah, so let's jump into it. So the first day in Medellin was mostly a travel day, and then in the evening when we arrived, we walked around Provenza, which is a beautiful neighborhood adjacent to Poblado, which is kind of has all outdoor patios, a lot of like promenades or pedestrian walkways. There's a lot of like expat culture there, or digital nomad culture, like a lot of people kind of cluster around there, but there's still like a presence of like Colombian people. Obviously it's not like too overgrown with that expat culture to the point where you're like, okay, like am I in Medellin, am I in Colombia, or am I in New York? Like you don't know anymore. So that was really beautiful. This second day, so we were staying with our friend who's a professor at the National University. So he walked us around the campus. This one was gorgeous. We visited the Faculty of Mining and Geology and did like a little tour of their museum there, like very brief, but we got to look at some cool rocks and fossils, and I love fossils and everything to do with like archaeology and geology. Was really cool. So that was the first part of the day, just walking around the campus a little bit. Then we decided to go right to Centro, which is like what it sounds like, the central, like the downtown core of Medellin. Now I think this would have been Tuesday, so it was just crazy. Like Tuesday, middle of the day, there's people everywhere. There's like, it's a little bit chaotic. Like someone was bleeding, someone like, some people are like drunk in the middle of the day. Like, I don't know, it's like a typical downtown vibe. But then you get to the like Botero Square, which also has the Museo de Antioquia, like the Antioquia Museum. And we decided to check that out, and it was actually kind of like an oasis in the downtown because it's a lot quieter obviously in the museum, and you can spend hours in there. There's like 3 floors. The top floor was mostly all Botero. That was super cool. Like I love his work. I think it's just like there's just so many questions around his work. Like, and I also just like to imagine being on the receiving end of a Botero portrait, and like, or being the first person that he ever showed his artwork to and being like, interesting, like why is everyone so chunky? I think the most interesting part of his work is that there's like a very silly element because everyone's so thick, but it's also very serious. And second favorite part of his work is that it really does tell a story about Colombian life and culture, and you can see that in the paintings and in the descriptions. Even when you're looking at the portraits of Christ, you get to see how he mixes modern with classical religious themes. He also paints like various episodes in history, but some of my favorites are just the like parlor scenes, or like the houses of the madams and like stuff like that, where like people are like putting up their stockings and smoking, and I love the outfits. And it's a really cool way to get a glimpse into culture through painting, and not only in Botero's work but on the other two levels. So there's some more modern art. Our third day there, we went to the botanical gardens, which is the complete opposite of Centro, so complete opposite of the downtown core, but it is still like in the downtown, kind of. Like, the botanical garden is just so serene. We were lucky we didn't have to pay an entrance fee, and we walked around for a few hours, and honestly, like, trees are better than people sometimes. Like, it was polar opposite from being in the center and in the downtown core and in the chaos and the madness of that. Like, instead you're surrounded by beautiful plants. There was like iguanas walking around, people having picnics, taking pictures, a lot of birthdays, and I just love plants. Like, the air was also like a lot better down there because of all the trees and all of the greenery, so that was super peaceful. After a little visit there, we took a train to Poblado, which is again kind of like the more expat neighborhood. It has a lot of hotels, clubs, a pretty vibrant nightlife scene, and a lot of beautiful cafes, and it's pretty central, but like more chill than like El Centro, like being right downtown. That night we met up with some people. We also went and had really good ramen at like a ramen shop that was like all themed. We went to the Click Clack Hotel and had a really good latte in the lobby, and just kind of hung out and did some work. That's the fun thing about Poblado, is like there's a bunch of great cafes where you can just like have your coffee, have a dessert, and literally just like chill for hours. And for me, that means I can like catch up on stuff online, do a little bit of like my more admin work, while also still being like in a beautiful environment and getting to like experience more of the city. The fourth day, we went to Comuna 13. That is a neighborhood that was historically like very violent, had a lot of violent crime and drug-related violence, all that sorts of things. A historically very poor neighborhood in Medellin, and it has gone through such a transformation through art, through the use of murals and commerce as well. So it's kind of now not like an outdoor mall, but like it's an outdoor walkway, and it's pretty much like guided. There's a ton of like souvenir shops, galleries, a couple coffee spots, lots of places to get a drink and to just hang out. My favorite thing was to see some of the people from the neighborhood who still live there. Some people were like kind of busking, some girls were like dancing, and some guys were doing like freestyle, like rapping. There's a lot of tours that go on, obviously, because it is like a tourist destination now. It's a little bit interesting. It's, in a way, the neighborhood is so transformed, and it's a lot more vibrant and safer, I guess, because it is a tourist spot. But there's also kind of like that feeling like it is a little bit like globalized now, in like, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I guess through the murals, like the murals themselves change. So before, they used to reflect a lot of like the history of the neighborhood, and now they're a lot more just like themed. So like Christmas or positivity, or like some vibrant artwork, and a lot of it is also sponsored. Like some of the murals are like Red Bull or like the municipality of Medellin. And so it's kind of like hard to, I guess, know what the political climate is now around the neighborhood, whether like it's still been like a force of positivity or whether like it's just like, for lack of a better way of saying it, just like overrun with tourists now. Like, yeah, so I'd be interested to like learn more. I didn't do the tour while I was there, but I did have like a bit of a history about the neighborhood. Often though, when I go to like places, I don't like to do the tours. Like, I like to just do my own research and then experience it organically how I would. But I think the tour would have been cool because then you obviously get like a little more info. So I'm sorry if this wasn't like the most informative piece about Comuna 13, but those are just kind of like my feelings and my observations while I was there. After that, we went and explored Laureles, which is like another kind of middle-class neighborhood, I guess. Has some cool restaurants and stuff, and we just had a coffee and hung out there for a little bit, again, just like catching up on work, giving our feet a little bit of a rest. And then we went to a karaoke jam in Bello, which is almost like its own town in the north of the city. And there we met up with some local musicians who like we'd been connected with, and they kind of gave us a tour of the neighborhood there before like we went and played pool and did karaoke and like all of that stuff and just hung out. But that was a really cool experience too, because they have similarly been like more of a dangerous neighborhood in the past, or more just like a smaller, not really like a tourist destination at all, but they've really tried to transform it to have community activations, artistic activations, and have it be more of a cultural center. So that was really interesting and mostly just a lot of fun. I love karaoke. Like, I think it's hilarious. Like, I love when people like aren't good, because then it's more entertaining. Like, kind of sucks to go to karaoke, like everyone's just killing it. Oh, excuse me, because then it's like it's not as fun. Day 5, which I think was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know, I kind of like lost track of the days. We went to an area just south of Poblado, or like under Poblado, which is called Patio Bonita. But we didn't actually know that that's where we were. We just like thought it was part of Poblado. But again, a lot of beautiful cafes, pedestrian areas. We had a coffee and met a kind of like an expat traveling couple, and they were super cool. Then we went again to the Click Clack Hotel, had another coffee, hung out there before meeting up with a friend and then going to 2 different music events. The first one, we went to a bar called, so first we went and had dinner on the rooftop of Click Clack, and there was an amazing DJ there. So we connected with the DJ and asked him like, what's going on tonight? Is there any other cool things? And he said he was going to spin at a club called Kitsune, which was like just a 10-minute walk away. So we went there because like the music at dinner was so good. So we were like, oh, okay, this is like really our vibe. Is kind of like deep house, like just music where like it's like still kind of like chill, but like enough energy that like you want to just keep moving and like you can't. I'm sorry, I'm yawning so much also, by the way. I'm just like, it's just like the last couple days here, and like the trip back from Medellin yesterday was like a lot. Anyway, so yeah, Kitsune had really cool decor and was like just kind of deep house vibes where you're just like, you can't help but like not move, and then like you're just moving and you're listening to like the DJ changes and all of that. Like, I love that. It's like very my vibe. Then we went to Urbana, which was like an urban bar, reggaeton party, perreo style kind of event, and that was cool too. It's really loud, but we danced a lot there as well, and it was just kind of like a little taste of this and a little taste of that, so that was fun. And then the next day, Saturday, we actually ended up again in Patio Bonita with a group of friends of ours, so our host and another family that we're friends with here. So that was like a beautiful lunch, and then we walked around the neighborhood a little bit, but we wanted to do a barbecue with everyone in the evening. So we went and bought a barbecue and some meat, and then we went back to our host's place. Everyone came over and we just hung out all night, played guitar, sang songs, and just talked and got to know each other more. And that was just like really, really beautiful. And it's kind of cool because our hosts are like a few generations like older, so like more my parents' age, I guess, but their kids are like a little bit younger than, like a generation younger than me. So I'm kind of in the middle, but it's cool because then you get along with both, and there's such like varying viewpoints and tastes, and it's just really cool to experience Medellin with hosts that are like A, so accommodating, B, like super, super friendly, and just really cool people that like are locals and are from there and like are sharing their stories, sharing their time from like literally from the time they grew up to when they went to university to like where they are now and like where their kids are at. Like getting to learn all of that, like again, it's such a richer experience than if we had just stayed in Poblado or had just rented an Airbnb. It would have been like very different. So then at the barbecue, we also decided next day to go to the opera with our other friends, and we hung out with them all day. So we went to La Traviata, which was very beautiful. It's only the second time I've ever been to an opera. The talent was just insane. Like the singing, the orchestral band, like it was so beautiful and like just so mesmerizing. Then we went and had lunch like across from, I think it's called the Metropolitan, which is like where they have the opera. Just across from there is like a new kind of outdoor mall that they've created along the river, or the Rio, and we had lunch there. Then we went and picked up their kids and we went to a place called Otra Parte, which is like a house museum, a cafe outdoors, and just lots of nature. It's kind of like a poet hang. They do like some poetry readings there and different like arts and cultural activities. So that was really cool to get to see. And then we all went to El Tesoro, which is like an insanely gorgeous mall, a little drive off from there. And I don't even know how to describe it. There's like a midway in the mall. There's like rides. Like it felt like the jungle Amazon version of West Edmonton Mall, which like I haven't been to in like probably 10 or 15 years, but like that's the only thing I can relate it to because I've never seen something like so beautiful and like so fun. But this was just like next level. The views are gorgeous, and yeah, it was insane. Like I don't even know how else to describe it. I wish I could bring it back to Canada with me. Like it was awesome. And then after the mall, we hung out with like basically our other hosts, but we weren't like staying at their place because they were doing like remodeling their kitchen, but we hung out for like a little bit. Same thing, like played guitars. I was going through this like coffee table book that they had, which details all of the different carnivals and festivals that Colombia has to offer, which like the Carnaval de Riosucio is a chapter in it. And so I got to even learn more about that and some other carnivals and like the rich history behind them all in Colombia, and that was really cool. So then Monday we were trying to go to Park RV Park, which you take 2 cable cars to get to. So we took the first one and it was absolutely gorgeous. Like to the people there, it's like pretty revolutionary because it's just their public transit, especially for people who live all the way at the tops in the mountains or like in the more remote neighborhoods, and it's hard to get downtown or to get down to the train line. So the public transit is like something that they're very proud of, but as a tourist, like it's also super cool to ride because like we don't have cable cars in Toronto like that, and I've very seldom been on other cable cars in other cities or seen it as an integrated part of their transit system. So that was really cool. The views are just gorgeous. And I honestly, like, I love taking public transit in like any city I go to, because to me it's a measure of how advanced a city is and like how well it can serve their population through public transit. Like, I think even if you're very poor, you can be rich in public goods. So like libraries, museums, public transit, public parks, all of those things. So to me, when I go and visit a city, like, I like to experience those kind of like 4 things that I just like rhymed off there. Like, and then you get a better glimpse of the life in the city versus if you were just going to stroll like designer shops or go to the expat area or whatever. So we took the cable car to the first stop, and then the second one was closed, so we couldn't actually get up all the way to the park. We were looking forward to it to kind of just do another kind of nature activity and hike around a little bit. And there's supposed to be like a very cute neighborhood called like Saint Helena or something up there, but we weren't able to get there. The only way that it's accessible otherwise would have been like an hour in the taxi or like a 2-hour hike or like something. Like, it was, so it's really crazy, and it really speaks to how the transit system works to actually support people who are living in those areas and working in those areas as well. But we ended up meeting a very lovely couple from the UK and sharing a juice before heading back down to Poblado again, which was like our favorite spot, just because I think like my partner and I both love like cafe culture and like having a latte, and especially in Colombia, like the coffee here is obviously one of the best in the world. So we like to really do that and then hang out in some of the art cafes and stroll around. But we got pretty rained out that night, so we ended up going home a bit early. Then the next day, Tuesday, we went back to Centro, but more so to check out El Hueco, which is basically like the Chinatown of Medellin. It has just like tons of shops, everything you could buy. And we had actually been there before when we went to the Museum of Antioquia, but we weren't there to shop. We were really just in the museum and in like Botero Square. This time we were more like perusing and checking it out, and it's just crazy because it is such a sprawl. Like, there's tons of vendors outside, there's tons of indoor malls, and then there's one, and then there's another, and then there's another, and then there's another, and it really is like this whole grid of the downtown, and it doesn't stop. Like, I'm comparing it to like Chinatown in Toronto, which is like way small by comparison. Like, I want to say like in Medellin it's like 6 times, if not like larger, like, and just the amount of stores. And there's also people who are like sewing and repairing stuff as well. So it's a little bit of a garment district as well, I'm guessing. Like, it's mixed with the two. I went to a really cool sportswear store where like everything was handmade in Colombia, all of the materials, and it was almost like a factory store, like or like an outlet store. So that was kind of a cool experience, super bustling. After that, we went and had a coffee in Botero Square, and then we met up with our hosts for our last dinner here at a very beautiful restaurant called Hangar M45. So the name of the street is like Carrera 45. And this place, it's a theme restaurant, so it's like airplane themed. It also has a helicopter landing pad on the roof, and all of the seats are like waiting room seats or like actual like airplane seats with like the tray that like comes in front. And gorgeous views of the city. We were there right at golden hour, took a few photos, and then had like a really lovely meal for our last night there. Today I'm shooting on Thursday. Yesterday was our last day in Medellin and we drove back. We got a car service where it's kind of like a carpool, and we drove back to Riosucio. So that's why I'm like a little bit tired right now, and I'm also like just thinking, okay, like what do I have to do before leaving? I have to like pack up the studio that I brought. I'm so nervous about like the weight of our suitcases. So hopefully by the time you guys are watching this, I've made it back to Toronto in one piece. But before we like move on, before I like end off this series in Colombia, there's a few other things that I wanted to show you. One interview, this is like the last interview that I was able to get while I was here, and this is with our host Carlos Delgado, who is a world famous painter whose gallery I've been living in for the last 3 months, and who has been our amazing host here. And so I asked him a few questions about his process and about the program here. I know a lot of you have asked me on social media or directly like about the artist in residency program and wanted to know a bit more details. So here's that interview. Okay, why do you paint?
Wow, I think I paint because I have a goal in this life, or I have a purpose. When I come to this world with the skill or talent to be an artist, I think I knew it all my life that I had to leave something for this world. So I paint because I want to leave a legacy in this civilization, and I hope that happen, and I hope the people remember the impact that I did it with my art, not just for my own goals. It's just also how impact people because art. So I paint for that because I have a responsibility to leave something here.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between art, music, and community?
Oh, I think I have to say that for me, one of the most important manifestations, the human being manifestation, is music, because for me, music doesn't exist. It's something like this in a paper. You can see it, you can just feel it. When you play an instrument, you can feel it. So I found the connection between music, because that made me the plus to create. Like music, like that's something that the rhythms come in your mind, and also you get connected and you find the flow to create. But also, I believe like the same that I said before about the legacy, also the responsibility of being an artist, and all the levels can be musicians and artists, like painters or dancers, is like being part of the community, impact the community. So I think all our art, we have this responsibility together. So for me, the connections is mostly about how we can impact our communities, and maybe that's the connection for me. But personal, like I said before, music for me is like something very close to my creative process.
Okay, last one. Can you tell us a little bit about the Artist in Residency program that you're setting up in Colombia and what you hope to do with it?
Well, I think this is a very young, very new idea that they come to my, it's a new frontier for me. And I think the satisfaction about this idea and this project is like knowing that the artists that are coming to this community, they find a way to impact the community. To work with kids like you and Adriana that had the chance to work with community, lead something, and that's a legacy. These kids, 10, 12 years, they're gonna, when they are like, they are in the 20, maybe in 20 years, 30 years, they're gonna remind you, because you leave something here for you guys, like in all the levels, like here, and also the cooperation, the collaboration with the organization. I believe like the expectation is that for me. I have a space that I can share with artists, that they can leave something to the community, and also find inspiration in these amazing mountains, in this really healthy paradise, because this is a town in the mountain that is not very like touristic and very popular destination. But I believe that it's something that people that they want to create, they need it and they want it, because going to the touristic areas in Colombia is very easy, and it's cool. But after a few days, you are ready to leave, because it's people around, people selling stuff. You don't have the space and the peace to work. So my projection is that invite people to the new and different area, be a door, and a bridge to connect with other artists, local artists, to get a healthy food and a healthy environment to create also. Fighting. F-E-H-T-E-N-A.
Show it, show it, show it. Amazing.
Okay, so a few other clips that I wanted to show you before I sign off in Colombia. This was a band rehearsal that we got to sit in on. So these are some local musicians who played with me at the concert, at the benefit concert that I was a part of. But this is their own group project. So I just want you guys to listen because I was just blown away by how beautiful the music was. Another thing we got to enjoy prior to going to Medellin was another evening of ancestral cuisine, indigenous cuisine, authentic Colombian food prepared for us. This was a 7-course meal that turned into 9 courses because there were some surprises. Everything was so delicious. Everything was also like explained to us by the chefs, how it was prepared, how it's a different take on something that's more traditional, and everything was absolutely delicious. And that was a very, very, very rich experience to have here. And that was actually hosted in the gallery, so where we were staying. So it was kind of cool to see like all the chefs come in and the team come in, set everything up for the dinner, and then also like have the dinner and then the tear down, which was like a couple days because it's a bit of like a messy affair, but there is some like clips of behind the scenes from that, and I really love it. Like cooking again is just like another art form, and I think it paired so well with the actual art in the art gallery and the presence of all of the humans there who were there to experience it. Lastly, the weekend before we went to Medellin, there was more Cuadrilla performances. So this is like another meeting and another showing of the Cuadrillas, which were the same from back in January. But this just goes to show you like how rich the Carnival is here and how important these traditions are. Just that there's so many levels and it's throughout the year. Like it's not only for a week in January every 2 years. There's so much preparation and performance, and there's these other events and other slots in the timeline that lead up to the carnival and also after the carnival. So this was just for the Cuadrillas, so there's a few clips from that. So looking back on my time here, I just want to like lastly kind of close off this video with like some of my favorite things about being here. One of them is that I got to really experience what it's like to live in a small town for 3 months, which is something that like I've never experienced in my life. It's literally like being in a children's book or like some kind of novel where like you know everyone in the town, everything is almost like in this like 5-block radius, you can walk everywhere. Going to the market has just been so magical, knowing everyone there as well and being like so welcomed, and like a kid's show where you're like hi, hello, hi, like to the butcher and the fruit people and the people in the cafe and the people everywhere. Like it's just, you really get to know so much more about the town and the neighborhood, and it's just like you feel really part of the community, even like as someone who's not from here. And it's something that like I don't even have in my neighborhood in Toronto. I do a little bit, but it's not the same. And I also think that it's an experience that I wouldn't have had if I had just gone to Medellin or to Bogota or to Cartagena or Cali or like a larger city in Colombia. There's something so special about Riosucio. The other thing is that there's like the most artists and musicians per capita of like anywhere else in the country. They have such developed symphonic band programs for kids in schools, and there's like more musicians here than anywhere else. Like that has been such a special experience. Like you guys just saw with like the band rehearsal that I got to sit in on. Like it's just so magical. Obviously like the carnival, because that's like nothing I've ever experienced in this life and like probably never will. Like I know there's other huge carnivals in Brazil and I want to see what that's about as well, and visit other carnivals also in Colombia and other festivities that they have here. But I've never experienced anything like that, and that was just so like beyond surreal. Even like little details, like when you walk down the street and there's someone selling mangoes, like they have a recording playing of a guy just saying mango, 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 like sweet mango, beautiful mango, sexy mango, like ripe mango. And it's just like a recording of someone like selling you that instead of like the guy actually on the mic. And they have that, like the avocado guy has that, and like other people in the market have that. Like just little things like that are like so charming, I guess. Like obviously it can be like very annoying, like that specifically. I also think it's like hilarious, like being in Medellin, we have been away from the square and away from the gallery where we've been living in, and at nighttime like you hear all the same music from the bars. Like they literally play the same playlist like every single night, and I've heard Nunca Suficiente like 8 million times since I've been here. And just last night, like when I got back, that was playing. Like of course that was playing. And so there's just like characteristics like that. Also like people come into the town from the countryside like on horseback on Saturday night and Sunday night to come and drink and hang out in the square. Like the square culture, the outdoor life, the fact that we're surrounded by mountains, the fact that I also got to connect with students here and children here and to teach them in such a magical, beautiful place. Like this has all been like so surreal for me. I'm sure I'm gonna have like so many more thoughts and feelings and reflections when I get back to Toronto. So I'll probably even do a follow-up to share more of that. Basically, I'm so super thankful. I'm so thankful also to all of you guys who have watched my vlog and who have followed along with me. It's not my goal as an artist to only be a content creator, but I love sharing my experiences, and I really wanted to take you guys along for this so that you could learn more about what I'm doing, learn more about my process in a very special environment and in a very special way where it's like a little bit novel and a little bit exciting, and there's like a bit more adventure than just like my regular mundane back in Toronto. But I do also want to show you guys more of my process when I am just at home and when I'm not traveling. But I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it's given you guys some interest in coming here, or some interest in some of the other artists that I've shared their work with, and also like the work that I do when I travel, and my releases that I put out as well, and how I'm able to kind of manage all of that while I'm being on the road. As always, follow me on my socials for more current updates, because I love to share on there highlights of what I'm doing, tips for artists, tips for creatives, stuff about artist lifestyle and musician lifestyle. Thank you guys a lot so much, and I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. I'm hoping to do some more vlogs in the future, and also some more Tyra talks. So both Tyra travels and Tyra talks. So stay tuned to the channel, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. I love to know if you've been to like some of these areas in Medellin and you know more about them. Please comment, please share your knowledge. And thank you guys so much. Take care.